Good afternoon, New Orleans or Puerto Vallarta or wherever you... No, wait, that was last week.
That was last week.
Yeah, sorry.
And I wasn't there. That's for sure.
No, it was just me and some loved ones.
Yes.
Not that you're not a loved one, but you just weren't there.
I was not there. I was here lamenting your absence,
Anyway,
but
I cut my
enjoying
own-
your pleasure.
Yes, thank you. I cut my own self off. I was about to say it's Wednesday at 4, so we must be Baldy and The Blonde. And I did listen to last week's show, and you said it's Thursday at 4. The first thing you did was get it
Kobe
wrong.
never corrects me either. Thanks, Kobe. for the
Every
help.
time you either
don't
get
know
the
why.
day wrong
Or the time.
wrong.
And that's probably why nobody knows when it
It's-
is. Like, when is it, Michelle?
It's
well, let me
Saturday
see.
at 13 o'clock, so this must, no.
Wednesday.
The first thing you said, you got it wrong.
Did I say Thursday, really?
Yes.
Again? Jeez.
Yes.
I don't know why. Maybe we need to move to Thursday.
And then you'll say Wednesday or something. Anyway, enough of this nonsense. We have a lot of serious
We
stuff
really do.
to cover.
I'm sorry to say we do.
And it's good to be back, but yes, last week I was
You're very
vacationing,
tan.
and
Yes, you're very tan.
I know.
You look
I
nice.
get dark easily.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. Anyway, so
That's never me. I get red.
and all I ask these world leaders, if you are going to launch World War III, can you at least wait till I get back so I know about it? I didn't know about any of this stuff.
I didn't either. We're in it.
Well,
We
until I
are
got
in
back
it.
and you said, "Oh, well, all this stuff going on over there," I said, "I have no idea." I
I
was
said
just in
it's
the
World War
ocean for a week."
III, and you're like, I haven't looked at anything. I'm like, well, okay,
No,
good for you.
Well,
but
it was good for me to get away,
It
and
is
now I'm
good.
back and I see this stuff and it's serious.
it is very serious, and I don't know how much coverage it's getting on mainstream media because I don't watch them.
Oh,
So
Well, I don't either, and probably none because it's
it's bad for America.
it's
great for the
and
globalists.
It's truth telling, and they don't bother telling the truth.
No, they don't.
So the first sound
It's
clip
really,
we
really
have-
bad, though. We are on the precipice of, we are in a kinetic world war
Well, that's
against Russia, if you can imagine how
Yeah,
stupid
right.
this is.
That's pretty stupid.
And I don't know what's going on, but I believe I believe there are bad actors who have put us in this situation.
Yeah, and it's
acting against the administration in
It's-
some respects.
And it's really hard to know what the truth is because, as I say, the first casualty in war is the truth.
Yes.
Right. And so the first clip we have it's a few minutes long. We will interrupt it to make some comments.
Yes.
So I'll be at the controls. So anytime I want to cut it off, I just stop it. But if there's a time that you want me to stop
Right.
it, you're just going to have to tell me to stop.
Tom, stop it. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So the first clip is by a woman named Rebecca Koffler. She was born in the Soviet Union, and this is just from her bio on Simon & Schuster because she's published some books. Says that she's a Russian-born U.S. intelligence expert who served as a Russian doctrine and strategy specialist in the Defense Intelligence Agency. And she has wargamed several times with the DIA and CIA, dozens of war games where she's taken the red team. I guess that means the Russian team.
The Russian team.
And you're going to hear her talk about it in this soundbite. They war game this stuff all the time. And she says that when it gets to the point that we're at or very close to right now,
Yeah.
it has always gone nuclear and the red team has always won.
Yeah. Pretty scary.
That's how serious it's sounding while I was on vacation, not knowing any of this stuff was going on.
And it all, I don't know if we need to set it up which way. This has been brought on by the attack in Russia. Should we talk about that now or after? The drones that bombed their bombers.
It was brought
I think
on
we should-
by that. And even that, it's hard to know what the truth is.
But for those that don't know, because some other people might have been on rafts in a beach somewhere, there was a very sophisticated drone attack on a fleet of Russian bombers well inside of the borders of Russia, like 2,000 something miles. And it does not appear to be something that the Ukrainians could have done on their own. So finger pointing is going on, and
Right,
I've
and
heard-
even if the U.S. wasn't involved with helping with that or targeting that, and I'm sure they were, even if they weren't, we're still funding all of this stuff. So,
we're paying,
how much difference is there?
it's Lindsay's boyfriend after all. I'm sorry.
There you go
but
again.
It's Lindsay's boyfriend. Okay.
All right, so can we listen to Rebecca Koffler?
Yes, let's listen to Rebecca.
All right, and then
This is an appearance that she made on the Steve Bannon show to give credit where credit is due.
and I guess just a couple of days ago, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe it might have been yesterday. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yes, sir. We are no longer in a proxy war with Russia. The United States is now officially in a direct kinetic war with Moscow because of how Russia looks at things.
Okay, I'm going to pause it there. When I first listened to this,
Yes.
she says we are now officially in a kinetic war. I thought, well, officially means that we've declared war.
Yes.
But that's not what she said.
No.
She said from Russia's point of view.
Yes.
And that's something we played several weeks ago now when Russia, it was actually a few months back, when Russia changed their nuclear protocols.
They did.
And when we get wind of, our government gets wind of that, we need to back off a little bit.
Yes, we do.
When the other side, when we realize that we could trigger nuclear options for the other side, we need to.
In other words,
we need to
Russia,
really watch.
Russia recently, within the last few months, relaxed their, I don't know what you call that, war protocol when they can use nuclear weapons to make it easier to do so because they perceived that they were about to be attacked more viciously, I guess, or virulently.
Right, and we did a segment on that where we had more details, and I've
Yeah.
forgotten the details, but the way you summarized it, yes, that's
about
my
right.
understanding.
Yeah.
So that's what she means when she says we are officially in a kinetic war from Russia's
yeah.
perspective.
Ukraine has no indigenous capability to execute this tactically brilliant operation that doesn't have satellites. It cannot geolocate these strategic nuclear bombers, right? Those bombers are reserved to wage nuclear war. And
So what she's talking about there, the bombers that she's referring to, is what you said
The
in
drones.
the introduction, that Ukraine did a drone strike against Russian bombers, and those bombers are what carries their nuclear
Yes.
nuclear missiles.
And it was apparently a brilliant attack in terms of warfare, and also it is, it's been compared. They're calling it the Russian Pearl Harbor because they took out a large portion of their air. In the same way that we lost most of our ships in Pearl Harbor,
Well, there's
they lost.
obviously a much smaller scale.
Sure, of
I,
course.
I don't even know that. I don't
that's
think
what-
anybody died here, where nearly
Oh, yeah,
3,000
no.
died at Pearl Harbor. But the principle is the same: a sneak attack and
Sneak
whatever.
attack,
Yeah.
yep.
But in war, whatever.
Whatever, yeah. All bets are
and
off.
Ukraine just attacked them. And that came right after Ukraine tried to assassinate President Putin. Russian President Putin's helicopter, when he was visiting Ukraine, came under a drone attack. And so right now, because the nuclear doctrine of the Russian Federation that Putin actually updated late last year, because he has noticed that we are consistently climbing this escalation ladder, it has a clause of a joint attack. And so they are looking at this attack that it is enabled by the United States. And that is the danger. We are climbing very steadily the escalation ladder, and we're probably, the actual full ladder is classified, so I can't talk about it, but it's my official intelligence assessment that we have climbed up more than 50% at this point.
So it's hard to know exactly what she's talking about there, but I think she means we've gone 50% of the way to where it would be allowable under the new Russian doctrine
I think that's what
to
she
launch
means.
nukes.
Yes, 50% there. We're really, and she mentions what the change of the Russian policy was, which was to make it a joint affair, so that if he thinks that the U.S. is behind the Ukrainian effort, then we are included.
We're fair game.
We're fair game.
Right.
That's it.
And that's not entirely unreasonable.
No, and yes, he has every reason to think that. And I did also hear something about directions coming from Wiesbaden, and I don't know if that's correct or not, but
That I haven't heard anything
Yeah.
about that. Now, when I say that that's not entirely unreasonable for one government to, if they feel threatened, to attack another government, but that's only if I'm a statist war hawk pig.
Lindsey Graham.
I can see why they would do that.
Lindsey Graham.
Well, and how many scores or thousands of others?
John McCain, rest in
Yes.
peace.
Anyway, so we're going to have to finish this sound clip on the other side of the break because we're coming up on. Well, we got a little bit of time, but I think we're. Gonna have
Yeah,
to
I mean,
wait.
just to summarize, we're talking about the serious business of us being in a very bad situation with Russia due to our endless stupid involvement, in my opinion, with the Ukrainians and messing around where we shouldn't be. And there are consequences to this kind of
Well, again,
risk taking.
even if all we did was fund it to the extent we have, which is
Huge, 200 billion.
That's enough.
It's enough right there to get you in trouble. And
Absolutely.
I don't think that having just gone through an election where the American people specifically voted against war, this is not our desire or our wish. And we are Baldy and the Blonde here every Wednesday at 4. And we will be back after the break to continue talking about the uplifting topic of World War III. This is Baldy and the Blonde. We are back, and we are talking about, unfortunately, World War III, which we are unfortunately flirting with, if not already there. And we're currently going through an interview given by Ms. Koffler, who is a expert on Russian matters, including wars, and she's an intelligence expert, and she says we are in a kinetic war from the viewpoint of Russia, who believes that we were behind the Pearl Harbor-style attack on their bomber fleet over the weekend, I believe on Sunday, and it's not good. So I don't know how much coverage it's getting in the mainstream. I just didn't actually watch much mainstream. I forced myself to do it for just purposes of this show, but I didn't. The last couple
Boy,
of days.
talk about taking one for the team. I never watch that.
Yeah, I do
ever.
it. I take it for the team sometimes. So.
All right, so we're in the
middle
of this. So if you missed the first part, just go to baldyandthebond.com tonight or tomorrow morning, and you'll be able to hear the first segment. So we're going to pick up where we left off with Miss Rebecca Koffler.
And the danger is here. At first, it goes pretty gradually, but then after you cross a certain threshold, it goes very, very fast into cyber warfare, space warfare, and then all the way into the nuclear. And
okay, so what she meant there, when we cut off there, she said we had reached about the 50% mark.
Yes.
Of what it takes for what we think she meant was what it takes for Russia to
go nuclear.
Go nuclear. And then she says, though, once you heard her there, once you get to a certain threshold, from then it goes very, very fast.
Yes.
Cyber warfare, space warfare, and then it goes nuclear.
And she has been in the business of we said in the first segment, of war gaming. So these people game out everything. They gamed out COVID, they game out war, and she says the red team, meaning Russia, etc., always wins. So,
yeah. Well, she said when it gets to a certain point, and we're almost at that point, it sounds like, you'll hear her say that when you get to a certain point, it always goes nuclear, and the red team always wins.
Yeah.
Because they have a lot of allies that they can draw in.
Yeah.
Who have nukes.
Yep.
every single war game that we conducted back in the intelligence community, and we conducted dozens of them, and I led some of the red teams, it ended up in a nuclear war. And guess what? Blue lost and red won. Why? Because Putin has a playbook. He has been planning for it. It's all, very well thought through. And we don't. We don't have the response because instead of actually targeting Russia and neutralizing the threat, the deep state of the U.S. intelligence community was chasing the non-existent Russia-Trump collusion. So they weren't doing their job. They were trying to unseat President Trump.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? So meanwhile, Putin's over there constantly war gaming. If the U.S. does this, I'll do this. Here's our war game plans. But our deep state over the past 4 years under President Otto Penn Dementia has spent all of their time, really since 2016,
Just making things up.
About
And going
the
after
Orange
Trump.
Man, because they're insane.
Yeah.
And leaving us vulnerable to nuclear attack, nuclear war, and mishandling everything with regard to Ukraine, getting us involved in that, taunting Russia, ever-expanding borders of NATO,
And also-
despite our promises not to do that.
And also never talking to Putin.
Putin said during the entire Biden presidency, he did not talk to Dementia Man once. Not once. We could have talked to Valerie Jarrett because I'm sure she'd have been there to help.
yeah.
Or Obama. Should have called Obama.
Or just call Jill.
Just call Dr. Jill.
All right,
That's
we're down
Dr.
to
Jill.
the last little bit. I forget how she finishes up, but we'll find out together.
And that's what happened. That's why we are almost in the World War III right now. Why is that? Because once it starts, China, North Korea, Iran, whom are they going to side? They're going to side with Russia. And that is why it's not just Russian nuclear arsenal. It's China's. You're adding all the capability that's going to be all combined and used against the United States.
Well,
Yeah,
that's comforting.
It's really good news.
So
on Wednesday.
Now, none of this comes as news. Well, it might come as news to the former administration because of what she just said. They weren't preparing
There
very
were little
well for this
staffers.
stuff.
Biden was in
Yes.
the closet. It now turns out, literally, it came out that
jeez.
they were
Or he got
finding
lost
him
in the closet?
He lost in the
Yes.
closet.
I saw a
Should have got
headline-
Lindsay to help him get out.
Okay, jeez, come on.
But I don't.
I did. Okay, I saw a headline about Biden getting lost in the closet. I honestly, but I didn't click
It's
on
true.
it. I just thought it's either real or a story by Onion or the Babylon Bee.
That's what you always
But it was
think.
real.
Yeah, it was real. The Secret Service reported that they'd find him in the closets and stuff. He couldn't find his way out.
Well, I mean, it was probably kind of a big closet.
Probably.
It's hard to get out of there.
And, because he was stuffed in the closet and Obama and whoever else was running the country, maybe some young staffers we've heard, Also, I've heard from, this is kind of funny, but David Hogg,
Yeah.
that little,
Was he in the closet?
well, no, he's out. But he was secretly taped by, I want to say it's Project Veritas.
Oh, I
Yeah.
did see that. It was
Yeah.
Project Veritas.
Yeah, and he said that the person truly running the country was Dr. Jill's assistant. I forget his name, Anthony the Bagman or something. I have no idea. But certainly wasn't the choice of the people of the country. And it doesn't matter because they're not letting Trump run the country either. So here we are. Here we are.
Here we are on the.
Insanity. The insanity.
Can nobody ever back down? What is wrong with these people?
I mean, I think Trump has tried. I don't know what's happening.
Well, I think he has tried, but then he came out with something like Putin's gone crazy. He's lost his mind. What
Yeah,
happened? In fact,
but-
we have a soundbite about
But that was before. That's unfortunately it all contributes to the. She
Well-
talks about that. I think.
Well,
Trump came out and said when Putin launched missiles into Ukraine before the Pearl Harbor bombing, that's what he was referring to. I think he's gone
Yes.
insane because he'd been talking to him about.
well, I do want
peace.
to. I do want to play that clip. You're not going to hear the part where it just got. It wasn't part of the clip that I found, but he said something like he's changed. He's crazy. What happened to the guy?
Yeah.
That part of the that got cut off a little
Yeah.
bit. You'll hear the rest, and then a reporter
Yes.
says, "Well, wait a minute, but they tried to assassinate Putin," and Trump says, "Oh, that's the first I've heard it." He didn't even know.
No, he didn't know.
Well, how could the reporter know?
I don't know.
And
I
what is
don't
going on
understand
there?
that. It's
So I want to play this clip. It's going to sound a little bit weird because it was outdoors, and I had to I filtered out the background noise for radio to make it a little easier to understand.
Yeah.
So it'll sound more clear, but it's also going to sound like a little bit odd. Like why does it sound like that?
Right.
It's because I cleaned it up. So we'll see if I can find that. Yeah.
And something happened to this guy, and I don't like it.
Can I follow up on that? A Russian commander reportedly said that Putin was almost caught in the middle of a drone attack from Ukraine. So do you have any...
I haven't heard that, but maybe that would be a reason. I don't know, but I have not heard that.
So
Yeah.
he sure had second thoughts. Once he
Yeah.
heard that, he goes, "Oh, I haven't heard that."
That
So
would sure be a reason for him to
but-
go crazy
okay.
and act crazy, right?
it would,
yeah.
but the point is, like, Trump, dude, pull yourself off the ceiling sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, he's crazy. I don't like that, and
Yeah.
he's ready to do what? Who knows? And then as soon as he gets a new piece of information, oh, I didn't know that. Well,
Right. It's the
when
unexpected
World War III
consequences,
is at
you know?
stake, back off. Show a little restraint, a little humility, which he doesn't have much of those.
Right.
Oh, we're coming up on another break. I just
I know.
started yapping
I know.
again.
Here we go. This is Baldy and the Blonde. We will be back after the break to continue this enlightening and fun discussion of World War III. at Baldy Blonde on X. Follow us.
Baldy and the Blonde are back. I'm Tom Coates with the Blonde Menace, Michelle Godin.
That's me.
That's the menacing one over there.
Yes, here discussing the lovely topic of World War III and how close we are to major problems. Anyway, following up on what we were saying in the last two segments about how we are on the precipice of a really bad situation, World War III perhaps, according to experts, not me and Tom. Mike Flynn issued a statement saying that he doesn't believe that the escalation against Russia's strategic bomber fleet was authorized or coordinated by the administration or Trump. Rather, and this is a quote, "It is my view that the deep state is now acting outside of the control of the elected leadership of our nation. I believe that these persons inside our deep state are engaged in a deliberate effort to provoke Russia into a major confrontation with the West, including the United States. The time is now to take aggressive action against those who abuse their authority," etc.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty shocking.
Now, it wasn't
Pretty
very
shocking.
wasn't very long ago. You said deep state. Only a couple of years ago, you said deep state, and they rolled their eyes at you. Now
Yeah.
everybody knows
Everybody
there is a
knows.
deep state.
Sure.
But you know what? So now that we have at least some idea how many trillions of dollars, dozens of trillions of dollars of slush funds, unaccounted for money, right? With that kind of money,
Yeah.
you don't need official Washington
No.
to pull this off.
No, you can do whatever.
Official Washington, in fact, gets in the way of pulling this off.
Exactly.
So you can act invisibly. You have unlimited money. If $1 trillion is essentially unlimited money, and they've got who knows how many trillions.
And notice
of course, they could go behind
course.
Washington's back and do this.
And that was the pushback that you saw from the hysterical leftists and warmongers against the Doge cuts, because that is how they've been funding all of their dark money, off the books warfare for years, is through these crazy side gigs and trillions of dollars delivered in pallets of cash, literally,
Yes.
that would fly into
Well,
to
you
the
can't-
Middle East.
That was billions. That wasn't trillion. You
Okay,
couldn't
but
do
that's
trillions in
billions.
cash.
There's not a
But
big
you know
enough
what?
plane.
Not to sound like a broken record, I'm afraid I will. But it all comes back to we don't have
money.
sound money.
We don't have sound
If you
money.
had sound money that you
Couldn't
couldn't
get away
just
with
create
it.
out of thin air, you wouldn't have any of this.
You could not do any of it because there would be no such thing as off the books money. It would be
It-
really hard to do
Right.
it, because people would know, like we had a little glimpse of what we could know through the Doge.
Right. Right. We got a little peek.
Got a little peek, and people were like onto it and like, wow, let's get rid of this stuff. Now, of course, you're always going to have your warmongers and deep staters and just basically grifters that want their share of the pie, and they want
Well-
the easy money. But for the rest of us, it was like,
Oh,
let's get rid of it.
yeah. The deep staters and the warmongers, they must have this BS money.
So they don't put it down as the war slush fund, but it's there.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, what do you say?
So-
Elon said there's like 14 just money printers or just
Yeah.
right. You
It's-
could do that if we have sound money.
You
would,
could not-
None of this would be happening.
We would not be sitting here with our lives at risk over Ukraine
Right,
and
right.
Russia. What?
Right. Right.
I mean,
what do I care?
What?
I
I don't care.
don't care.
I care about people being killed and dying as a general, human being with compassion. However, not my fight.
Well, what I meant
Not
when
my
I say I don't
country,
care,
not my fight.
right? Just to clarify, I don't mean I don't care that there's a war going on and innocents are
Sure,
dying.
that's why I
Of
said
course
that. I
not,
know
right.
you. I know you don't.
I
mean
don't
that.
care who Kiev is ruled by, which
don't
country
care.
it's in, or even if it's its own municipality on its own. I don't care.
And those people have been fighting for thousands of years, and it's not our battle. We have problems here in our own country, most of which come from unsound, disgusting money printing and the need to be the police of the world.
Well,
So
if you want to find a way to make sure that fighting stops forever, we're well on the way to the road. We're on the road to that.
we might not be.
We
here.
we just nuke everything, and then there's no
You know
more
what?
fighting. And
I
look.
just thought of something, Tom. What was that? Some of you longtime listeners might remember. There
you
was
mean
some.
from when we were on the air like a million years
No,
ago?
I don't know if when it came out, but that thing where
Oh.
the guy predicted that there's such a giant decline in the population.
Oh,
That was about 4 years ago. What was that called?
I don't.
I just thought of it.
So that was predicted for 2025.
It was, and there
And
was
it
a
was-
huge population.
It was something like it's 80 or 90% population reduction in the U.S.
Yes.
What was that called?
That freaks me out.
I saved it. I have it sometimes when I'm supposed to be working, but I'm only pretending to work.
Oh, thanks. That's good news.
Don't tell my boss.
I won't tell her.
download that stuff. Well, half the time my boss distracts me from work and says, "Hey, download this."
Tom, come see this. You won't believe it. But there really is a study, and it was some actuarial life insurance dry numbers guy who had tables that predicted.
I got to find it. No, it was
We'll
somebody
find
who
it on the
actually
break. We'll find it on the break.
It was somebody that the government uses, that the intelligence apparatus uses, and they report
predicted.
to him.
All right, we're boring people. Let's just move. We'll get that on the break. But
You started it.
I did start it,
All right.
but we'll have to solve that problem.
I'm ending it. Next.
Yes. Okay, next. Anyway, so that would explain what, as we sit here in the crosshairs, he might have known something. I don't know how he predicted that, but
Well, these people are in the know.
We're in a bad way.
Okay.
So y'all say your prayers.
Yes.
Because we are in a precarious situation right now, and we really probably don't know what's going on. I don't know. If the president literally was surprised to hear that Ukraine tried to kill Putin hours before, he should have known. How come he doesn't?
Why would a reporter know that before
I don't
Trump?
know.
And he
It's really
legitimately
weird.
sounded.
He sounded surprised.
He did sound surprised.
Anyway, what's
so-
next? We have something else.
Now you wanted to play Lindsay Ladybug something.
Lindsay Ladybug. Ladybug Lindsay coming right up.
So
Warmonger Lindsay never met a war he didn't love.
Okay, so you're gonna have to set this one up because this went on when I was in Mexico and I had no idea what it was. He went to Ukraine.
Yes, he went to Ukraine.
With who other?
In the skeleton Bloomberg. I mean, have you ever seen a person look more like an actual skeleton with skin stretched across his face?
I don't even know what he looks like.
Oh my God.
So who went?
Blumenthal. I didn't mean to say Bloomberg.
Okay.
Blumenthal.
I was wondering, who are you?
Yeah,
talking
no,
about?
Senator Blumenthal.
Okay.
And Mike Pompeo, the former Secretary of State.
Those three.
Yes, and they
went
met
to
with
Ukraine.
little
Tiny
dancer. Yeah.
Oh. all right.
And they were ecstatic. And Lindsay says, "Hey, don't worry that the American people and the president don't want to support this war. Congress is going to give you more money."
Okay.
Of course, Congress doesn't listen to us either.
Well, okay, I listened to this clip, but I didn't really fully understand the context because I was in such a hurry just to make the
Well, what he's
stupid
doing,
clip.
yeah, he's assuring.
But I don't think he said we're going to give you more money. He
I
said-
may have read that into it, so let's listen.
Yeah,
I don't know.
he didn't say anything specific, but
I thought he was like cheerleading. Don't worry, we're here to the.
he said we're going to support you.
Yeah.
But he didn't say in what way.
Well, we know how he has in the past.
President Trump said that Ukraine doesn't have good cards. Well, Russia's much bigger and has a lot more people. I get that. But the world has a lot of cards against Russia. And one of those cards that we have is about to be played in the United States Senate. In America, you have more than one person at the card table. We have three branches of government, and the House and the Senate are poised to act. What would change our mind? If Russia came to the table, agreed to a ceasefire.
So he didn't say specifically what they would do. He just says that the House and Senate have some tools that they can use. And he's right about that.
Yeah, I feel like he said something about money. Maybe it wasn't.
Well,
in
maybe
the clip.
maybe
I
later
might be wrong.
in the clip, I don't know. But I did see an article that said maybe they're trying to impose tariffs without going through Trump. But I don't know. It's hard to know. There's so much going on. Like we always say, so much tyranny, so little time. But he is right that, and honestly, I'm not defending him, but
Please
we
don't.
should not. I'm not. But we should not want to have a system where the president has a say on whether a senator can go overseas. And
Yeah, I kind of agree with you.
it's not his boss.
But there is something about national security that
I'm not saying that
there's-
he used good judgment in going.
Yeah, I don't think it's good.
But it's not the president's place to say you can do this or you can. That's not what we. That's not where we
You know,
live.
there is the Logan Act, but we're not going to get into it because it's vague in my opinion. But that says that certain people cannot engage in foreign policy.
But I think that
it's-
means private citizens like you and me.
I think it's better to I think it would be better if we had a more cohesive foreign policy. Right?
No, exactly. Now that's the problem.
And here's the thing: is that if all of our little dalliances in wars everywhere, if we followed the Constitution, which requires Congress to declare war, well, then okay. Then we would have some input. But the last time we declared war, even though we've been in war continuously for, I don't know, 80 years, the last time we formally declared war, Congress declared war, was World War II after the Pearl Harbor bombing.
Right.
Since then, however, we are at war constantly.
At war constantly, we just don't call them wars. That's
Right.
why it's the Korean conflict.
Yeah.
Right. And I forget what they even call Vietnam, but it was a
no
slaughter
idea.
and it was L. We took
A
the
waste
L
of
on that.
lives. Yeah, it's terrible. So that's where we're.
And the other ones, they don't even pretend that those other ones, Desert Storm and all that.
But to be flirting with nuclear war with Russia is insane. Insane.
Well, when I first heard that clip, and I only listened to it a couple of times, it sounded to me like he's saying that Congress could declare war on Russia.
Well, that would be a first.
And they could. But I think it was, they have maybe tariffs in mind.
I don't know what he
Or
means.
some kind of sanctions or freezing assets.
Usually what he means is more money coming your way, tiny dancer. What else do you need?
And it might indeed be that. He just didn't say specifically.
I don't know.
Because 10 gazillion trillion that we've given already apparently isn't enough.
And a lot of people say that because at some point Tiny Dancer said, well, we haven't got all that money. So the theory is that it's a money laundering operation, that they allegedly send money and it comes back in
90% comes back.
Comes back in donations.
Yeah, it makes
and stuff.
perfect sense.
Ridiculous. So anyway, this is Baldy and the Blonde. I'm Michelle Godin here with Tom Kowitz.
Nothing but good news today.
Nothing but fun. We're trying to, I don't know, what can you say about the impending World War III, or at least the fact that people are talking about it.
I'm going back
is
to Mexico.
insane. Yeah, let's go. That's what I say. Y'all can follow us on X.
You can follow us to Mexico.
You come to Mexico at Baldy Blonde. Check it out. BaldyandTheBlonde.com. All of our episodes commercial free. Welcome back to Baldy and the Blonde. I'm Michelle Godin here with Tom Kowitz, and we are talking about World War III today.
Just happy times.
Just nothing but fun.
During the break, we plotted where are we going to go, and
Right. Tom's going to New Mexico, sitting on top of a nice big, I don't know.
actually, I really am.
Yeah, I know.
in about a week.
I don't know if that's good, but I'll be here.
Just to be clear, I'm not going to New Mexico because of this.
Okay.
I'm summering in New Mexico.
He
as it were.
summers after he travels everywhere. All right. Anyway, we were talking about World War III and the unfortunate escalation, dragging the United States inexorably into World War III, which we do not want to be in because of the Ukraine and Russian conflict, which is not our problem, yet it's about to be because of everything we've already discussed, especially the bomb attack on the Russian planes being blamed on us. So, anyway.
Well, at the very least, that we fund or help happen.
Yeah, and
Logistically.
as the expert pointed out, this has been possible because Russia plans for nuclear war along with their allies, Iran, Red China, North Korea, while our deep state, was busy for the last 10 years making up TDS, ridiculous,
Just making up stories.
Russian collusion,
Yeah.
and plotting and scheming against the President of the United States and covering up for a demented, hair-sniffing old goat who was not the president. So we're a little bit behind. Plus, we sent a lot of our war missiles to Ukraine. So we're out. I forgot
Great.
about that.
Oh, yes.
Yes, we're very low on supplies because we gave them all to Tiny Dancer. So anyway, in light of all that, moving on to the topic of the secrecy that has been shrouded from the American people, Dan Bongino recently came out with some comments about what he has discovered, and I don't think it was good, huh, Tom?
No, and I'm convinced after hearing that crimes were committed.
Yep.
And so hopefully, maybe, although I'm pretty sure not, Bongino will help go after the people that committed these crimes. Here's what you're going to hear him say, is that once he and Kash Patel got in to lead the FBI, they were directed to a room that had boxes and bags with papers that had not been scanned and
Right.
digitized. And I'll bet you that alone is a crime.
Well, and he said that it was highly out of the ordinary, and they should have been scanned, and this was obviously being
But by
hidden from them
design, yes.
by Comey and his
Yeah.
compadres. Here we go.
All
So,
right.
Of course, we're not ready for nuclear war. We've been busy doing BS.
Right.
Jim Comey, we're finding stuff even now. Wait till you read the stuff that's coming out.
Does he still have loyalists in the building? Because when I hear the FBI director saying, you guys are finding boxes that are hidden, how does that happen in the Bureau?
We were there a couple of weeks, and luckily there were a lot of people up there who grabbed us by the arm the minute we came in and said, thank you for being here. You know, we need to talk. There are people there who are really horrified at what happened. And there was a room, and we found stuff, a lot of stuff.
A hidden room.
I wouldn't call it hidden, but hidden from us at least, and not mentioned to us. And then we found stuff in there, and a lot of it's from the Comey era, and we are working our damnedest right now to declassify. And just so you know, because I get the public, I totally understand people saying, well, do it now. The process is not all the information is ours to declassify. Some is other intelligence agencies. It's not, we literally can't do it. Once that gets done and that gets out there, and you read some of the stuff we found that, by the way, was not processed through the normal procedure, digitizing it, putting in FBI records, we found it in bags, hiding.
Bags. It's unbelievable.
That has to violate some federal law. It has to.
Crimes.
Now, you heard the energy and conviction he was speaking with there compared to when he was talking about the Epstein file.
This sounds like Bongino.
This sounds like Bongino. The other one sounds like he opened that file and it said, we are deep state.
And we'll kill you.
Yes,
speak at your own risk, Danny.
Speak at your own risk. Have a happy life. We know where you and your family are all the time.
Saw your kid today. Her pink dress was really cute. Don't worry.
Yeah. So,
anyway, so there's obviously we're in a lot of trouble, and
well, when things are in boxes, bags, and papers, not digitized, you don't have searchable files. You don't know what is where, and that's what they want.
That's
it's
what they
a
want.
complete mess.
Hey, one way to distract us from all of this revelation that's coming forward.
Yes.
That we've been, attacked by our own government. Money's been wasted, stolen, fraud, misuse, uncovered by Doge, and a reckless spending bill that seems to cut nothing. One way to distract everybody is to go to war. So hey,
there's a long history of that sort of thing. To hide the reason for the collapse and the catastrophe.
I mean,
well, we're at war. Of course, times are tough.
Yeah.
Well, times are going to be tough.
Oh, we don't have time for this digging into the things of the past. We have a war to fight. Who cares if the election of 2020 was stolen? Who cares if the United States of America has been spying on its own citizens for years? Speaking of which, one of the things that's been discovered is the FBI was indeed spying on Catholics much more than they originally admitted.
Do tell.
Do tell.
I don't know this.
It turns out.
I saw something come across. A friend texted me something.
Yes.
And I didn't have a chance to even look at it.
Well, it turns out that we were told that there was just this one letter that went out and said the FBI would be infiltrating Catholic churches, especially if they went to the Latin Mass.
Okay, I remember that.
Yes.
So it's grown since then?
Well, it turns out that there's just, and I didn't have a chance to read this carefully, but I'm just telling you, it turns out that there's a lot more than we were originally led to believe. And that Christopher Wray, it seems like, might have misrepresented the truth about how extensive this was, that it was given to thousands of agents, not just a few. And so, therefore, we were all Catholics and I've been to the Latin Mass when I go to Mass in Abita.
You terrorist.
I know.
I don't know her. I don't know you. I don't know you.
Because sometimes I'd miss the 8 or 10 Mass, and at 12 was the Latin Mass, so there I was, and I guess I was accompanied by FBI agents, who knows. But our government's been up to no good and doing nothing to protect us. And real quick, I was thinking of going to England this summer.
Yeah.
Not a good place. Why?
Well, they're quashing free speech like crazy.
Yeah.
Well, like all of Western Europe seems to be.
That is a dangerous housewife, though. How dare that lady in England complain when the Muslim came into the children's Taylor Swift dance studio and chopped them up with machetes, killing 8 of them.
And this housewife was upset.
She was very upset.
And now she's doing time.
31 months.
Yeah.
She has 1 child and a sick husband, but she'll be doing 31 months in jail because she said something derogatory about the killer.
And deleted the tweet within
after
4
30
hours.
minutes. Yeah,
No, it's like 4 hours.
4 hours, yeah. So I don't think that there's a law, and this is sort of what we were talking about last week with Marco Rubio saying he's going to try to protect the rights of Americans, free speech, abroad, and that we're not giving visas to countries that discriminate against free speech. I don't know that it's safe for Americans to go there, because if you're there and you have tweets and posts on your accounts that England deems to be hate speech because they don't have a First Amendment, you're subject to arrest.
If you're on their soil and you just forward something
Yep.
that they don't like,
Arrest.
right, you would be subject
Jail.
to arrest.
That's it.
She's
'Cause
doing 31 months. That's not over a tweet.
I
Right?
guarantee you and I, just based on our speech on this station, on this radio show, of our opinions, is enough to get us put in jail in England.
Yeah, probably
No,
so.
absolutely.
And I don't know why we remain strong allies with countries that quash free speech like this.
I agree. I don't
and
see
we were on the
England-
road to that.
Oh, we would be there. If Kamala Harris had
Yeah.
won,
Well,
we are there.
All right, we're out. Take us
We're
out of here.
time. Yeah. Baldy and the Blonde. See you back here next Wednesday at 4.